Choice and Control, a podcast celebrating people with disability. In this season, we're talking about access, inclusion, and the National Disability Insurance Scheme. This podcast series is brought to you by Carers Queensland, NDIS local area coordination partner in the community.
G'day, I'm Jodie van der Wettering. Today I'm talking to Amanda Fraser, an athlete whose career included the Sydney 2000 Paralympics. Outside the pool and the field, her employment experiences have been a mixed bag, but now she's found a career she loves, working with other people with disability. As we sit down to chat, she's a local area coordinator with Carers Queensland's team in Rockhampton.
So I grew up in Emerald. About 18 months after I was born, I was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. I've got two younger sisters who were my protectors. I call them my protectors. And basically just grew up in a really sporting family, really. So the sporting family, played basketball, and I was in a hugely basketball-orientated community. And when I got to the age of 12 or 13, I was told, hey, you can't play basketball anymore because you can't dribble with both hands. So that was quite devastating for me, being told that I couldn't do something that my family had always, done. And then my parents quickly tried to have a look around at other sports, and they found swimming, mainly because there was no coach that was willing to coach me in athletics. And then so when I did the swimming, I started off and someone said, there's this thing called the Paralympics. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, well, that's what I want to do. I watch the Olympics every 4 years and have athletes plastered on my walls, and that's what I want to do. And so my education probably lacks in those sort of areas. So I wasn't focused on my education as much because I was probably told that I wasn't smart enough. I think when I got to grade 10, because I was absent for swimming so often, travelling overseas and seeing the world and competing, they basically wanted to put me into a special needs unit. So my mum quickly decided, no, that's not going to happen. And we moved to Rockhampton from there and continued on the sporting journey. Ended up passing most of my grades. Most, not all. But I think for me, going to the Paralympics in Sydney, so that was 20 years ago next weekend, which is scary, was just this real awakening of, hey, you can do this, you can really be successful and you can achieve things. And Sydney 2000, I think, was my awakening and built my confidence. My mum sort of stood in the grandstands and saw me in this skimpy little cossie or swimmer, waving my hands, telling people to cheer me on, and how was that shy little 18-year-old doing that. So it really, for me, that was the awakening. And then I moved to Canberra in 2001 after being, I think, kind of pigeonholed into childcare sort of teacher aide position through the employment sort of agencies. They sort of got me that job. And
was that where your passions were? Did you sort of go in thinking, I would like to work with children?
No, definitely not. No, I mean, I love children, but I think I was probably, I don't know what I wanted to do at that point. So I think it was just, well, this would be easy for you, so do this. And the expectations, I think, were, fairly low on the, job sort of market. So, this is what you can do, so let's put you in here and then we'll tick a box. So
it sounds like had you not had that amazing outlet through your athletics, life could have been fairly dull.
Grey. Yeah, definitely. And I will be forever thankful for that person saying, hey, there was this thing called the Paralympics, because without it, my life would be completely different, I think. So
you ended up in Canberra. You're working in childcare sort of just because that's where you landed.
Yeah.
Well, how did your career progress from there? Did you think about getting into something sport-related since that was where your talents were?
Not at that point. I went into sort of the swim coach arena, And then I went into admin. I worked at the Australian Institute of Sport's shop. I worked in the tours department, so I did the tours. I really liked the tours because I got to meet different people and share my story a little bit, and that was fun. And then I got a job with Telstra. So I worked in sales in a licensed shop, which was awesome. And I did that throughout my athletics career, because by that time I was trialling throwing, shot put and discus, so that was fun, and a huge learning curve, because being part of the Australian Institute of Sport was just an amazing facility, all the athletes that you got to meet, all that sort of stuff. It was a great experience. So.
And how well was the Australian Institute of Sport tooled up to work with the para-athletes?
Brilliant, yeah. I mean, we had the best coaches there, and from my point of view, I thought that I learnt athletics from the best. I really did, and they were innovative and had imaginations, and really just supportive and listening and engaging. So it was great, yeah. Inclusive, I guess, yeah. But I think that that area was just amazing, because you were with the able-bodied athletes. So every day you would walk around. I mean, in the beginning I was seeing Michael Klim, 2 or 3 times a week, and you're just like, oh my God, that's Michael Klim just over there. And people today probably don't remember who Michael Klim is, but it was one of the ones smashing the guitars with the Americans. So, and Alexander Popov and Patrick Johnson, and all those guys were just amazing. So it was. And
you're just bopping around, rubbing shoulders with your heroes. What an inspiring.
Kostya Tszyu was like, oh my God, I can't even. I remember going into the gym. Kostya Tszyu really changed my idea of who a boxer really was. Like, he basically said to us, there was a group of probably 4 or 5. Athletes with disabilities doing gym work. So we were lifting heavy on the bench and, throwing weights around. And he said, oh, God, you guys are amazing. Like, I really like, you're just out there doing what you do. And from my point of view, it was really nice to be recognised by someone like him. And, it was cool.
While that level of inclusion and respect was happening in the AIS, what was happening in your outside of sport career? Was that same feeling of being included and valued?
Definitely not. I always felt like in my work career, I hadn't studied, so that was the issue, I think. I think throughout my education, I didn't feel smart enough. So I didn't want to go back and study, because if you've been told that you can't do something for long enough, then, you're not going to want to do it. So, and I didn't, and I stayed away for a long time. So I just worked to earn the money. And then, eventually, after I left Canberra and I retired, a couple of years later, someone said to me, why don't you do personal training? And again, that awakening, it was almost like that second sort of opportunity in the employment field. So I went through the Certificate 3 and the Certificate 4 in personal training, and I was the most successful trainer. So I got awarded the champion trainer of the course. And that wasn't just like the performing the exercises part, that was the assignments and quizzes and all that sort of stuff. To be recognised not only on the sporting arena but academically was amazing. Like, I just have never felt that way before, and I can remember getting awarded that award and was just shocked, because I was just like, how did this happen? I didn't think that I was smart. I literally just didn't believe that I was smart enough to be that person. But it just shows that when you're passionate about something, you can really excel. So I think sport and disabilities is probably where I excel.
Working as a personal trainer, did you gravitate towards people with disability, or where did that take you?
I tried to, but I worked in the middle of the city in Brisbane, and there just wasn't enough people accessing the gym in Brisbane. And I guess our lift was probably hidden by a workplace, so it was really hard to see where the access was, although we were sort of ready and willing to have people with disabilities there. And I did train a couple of my friends and, show them to do squats when they didn't particularly have leg strength. So that was amazing. It was a great experience. But, they were my friends as well. So they couldn't walk afterwards.
And were they still your friends after that?
Yes, they are. I think that, within that dynamic, I got to meet so many people from so many different walks of life as well. And I felt like I was really lucky because I worked in Brisbane City because, you're working with doctors and, occupational therapists and, people that work for work cover and, lawyers and all that sort of stuff. So amazing, different. And then students as well. So, yeah, it was a really dynamic. I miss that sort of, different story to different people, and that's what I love about the LAC role is that you do get to meet different people, and if you could hear their story every day of the week, then that's what I love. I love listening to people's stories and trying to help them. Yeah.
And what was that process then from working in the gym in Brisbane to up in Rockhampton and working as a local area coordinator?
Yeah. So I moved back to Rockhampton for love. So I reconnected with a bloke that I went to high school with, and I never said that I would move for a man. And I had just completed the Kokoda Challenge in 2017, and we reconnected after that. And I just thought, well, if I don't move now for a man, then I never will. So I took the opportunity, and having the personal training background, I just thought, well, I can do this anywhere. And he's got his family here. He's got a son. So, his life, great job. So for me, it was easier for me to make the move. And then probably about 4 months later, this job came up, and a lady that worked here actually said, oh, you should apply for this role. And I did, and the rest is history because I got a foot in the door. I don't know how, but I got a foot in the door.
And that must have been quite a leap of faith because this was before the NDIS had started rolling out in Queensland. So we didn't necessarily understand what a local area coordinator was going to be.
Yeah. I think I didn't really know what the role was, but I knew that I could bring to the role like that, being able to listen, being able to learn about different disabilities, but being able to support people and encourage people. I have great aspirations, and I obviously dream big for everyone, and I think that, if you can show people that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, then, isn't that what we're all here for?
For people who haven't had anything to do with the NDIS before, could you just explain, as an LAC, what do you do? Where do you sit within the NDIS?
Yeah. Well, probably the most important part is that we have to be seen as impartial, but we get to know the participants, so we get to share their story. So we paint the picture for the agency. So when we paint that picture, we've got to try and get all of the information out of the participant and their family. So again, trying to figure out what entices them to, or what encourages them to be better, or, what are they passionate about, so that we can try and figure out where they fit in society, so that we can, try and make that job happen, or make that social group happen, like joining a different group that does art or craft, or competing in archery, or, whatever. I think there's so many avenues in Rockhampton, wheelchair basketball. Yeah, so I think we're very fortunate in Rockhampton to have numerous organisations that are out there to help people with disabilities. We've just got to find the right fit for the right person.
It is finding that fit because you don't necessarily know what's out there. And on the other hand, if you are running a sporting club or a hobbyist group of some sort, you may have people who want to join and you don't realise how you're not accessible because you've never thought about it.
Yeah, and that's a scary thought. And, I think that it's just about asking the people with disabilities, how can we help you to be included? So it's not about saying no straight away. It's, well, how can we make that introduction? How can we look at what we do, riding a horse? Do we bring a ladder over? I don't know, to get someone up onto a horse. So it's about finding the ways. I often say that people with disabilities are really good at, cheating because, we like to cover our disabilities up. So they're the people that have the answers, and if they don't have the answers, then someone that is trained like an occupational therapist would be able to figure that out for us.
Something that's come up over and over again in this season of the podcast is the importance of the attitude. Like, you can have the ramp, you can have the lift, but you also need the attitude of everyone's welcome here, and it's our job to make it work, not to find a reason to not make it work.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, you've just got to be open to it. And I mean, I see that every day going to the gym. Like, I go to the gym and I feel included every day, and I can't do majority of the exercises that everyone else can do, but to be able to have a regression or a modification so that I can still do 5 rounds of the same, workout, then so be it. So, yeah.
Thanks for joining us at Choice and Control, a Carers Queensland podcast. For more information about Carers Queensland, the National Disability Insurance Scheme, or the local area coordination program, please contact us online at carersqld.com.au. Or you can catch up with us on Facebook, search for Carers Queensland NDIS. This podcast is a place for people with disability to share experiences, stories and achievements. If you have a story you think we should know about, please contact us through the Carers Queensland Inquiries line at 1300 999 636 or email cq.inquiries@ndis.gov.au. Until next time, thanks for listening.